Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Halldark Holidays, edited by Gabino Iglesias. Kind of a cool cover there, scary. It's a little wraparound. And this is an anthology series. Oh, it's from Cemetery Gates Media. It's a holiday anthology horror series that came together because Gabino Iglesias made, I think, a joke on Twitter about an anthology of stories spoofing, for lack of a better term, pastiching maybe, Hallmark holiday movies. And he had such a crazy huge response that he was like, all right, let's do it. And got, I think he talks about it in the introduction, like 700 submissions. So he put together this anthology. He had so much great stuff. There were stories that didn't quite fit this, but were so good he actually convinced another publisher to put together another anthology, which, as far as I know, has not happened yet. Hasn't come out yet. But this is the result of Twitter. And now I had a viewer ask me to go over everything that's in an anthology. I'm not, I suppose I can't pronounce everything in the titles or the authors' names. But real quick, I guess, the table of contents. Do you need titles or should it just be authors' names? I don't know. There's an introduction by Gabino Iglesias. We have, titles aren't going to mean much to you. So the authors, I guess, right now, this time, we'll do the authors. We have Greg Sisko, Brian Keene, Clara Madrigano, Alessandro DiFrancesco. See, I'm going to ruin some of these names. Catherine E. McGee, Alan Baxter, Gina Rinaldi, Bev Vincent, Jonathan Duckworth, Kelly J. Ford, Mackenzie Kiera, I think, Mark Allen Gunnels, Magnolia Strock, Elizabeth Hurst, Nicole Wilson, Fred Venturini, Michael Harris Cohen, Sherry White, Max Carey, Jillian Bost, B-O-S-T, Cynthia Paleo, and Todd Robinson. All right, I think I got all that. So they've all written holiday horror stories. Now, they're not all Christmas, but the majority are Christmas stories. And as with any anthology, we have a mixed bag. Although, I do think the quality overall is higher in this book than in a lot of anthologies. Even though there are a lot of similarities in some of the stories, especially the Christmas ones, there are quite a few stories where a fiancé is being brought to their affianced what am I trying to say? A fiancé is being brought back to a small hometown to meet the family, and there's, dark secrets and things. There are a few that are about, like, Christmas towns. Those towns that are just Christmas themed all year round. That's their whole gimmick. There are a few stories with those kinds of places that, again, have a dark secret. Most of these stories are dark secret kind of stories. So even though there's a lot of this sort of repetition, the stories themselves are well written enough and different enough that, the quality overall in the stories, I think, is really good. I don't know that I've ever read an anthology or short story collection that wasn't a mixed bag in some way, but a lot of anthologies, there's huge highs and some pretty deep lows. Sometimes, not always, but this one keeps a pretty high median and then goes up with some tiny dips, but mostly it's pretty good. So I'm just going to look at this table of contents, talk about a few of the stories. We start off with the Morbs, Greg Sisko, it's a fun little story. It's a good story, I think, to start this anthology. Sort of get the feeling of what we're in for. And I'm probably not going to talk too specific about any of the stories because, again, being short stories, I can give too much away. The Morbs is about, this time it's not a fiance, it's a reporter and his photographer at a Christmas town doing a Christmas story during the Christmas season, and the darkness that no one knows about in this town. Nice, good horror story. The second story is The Hatching by Brian Keene, which is an Easter story. And I'm a huge fan of Brian Keene. And this is really a character story. The horror is great, but it's a very small part of the story. And I would have read just these characters. You could have left the horror out and it would have been a nice little just character story. But of course, it is a horror anthology, and it was nice. The second story is not a Christmas story, so we already know this isn't just all Christmas stories. Let's see. So, good stuff. What did I want to talk about? Rainbow Black by Gina Rinaldi. I don't know, is Coming Out Day an actual one of those holidays that we have an official date? Because that's essentially what this story is about. These two women that are having their parents over for a coming out day. Not really a party, a gathering, I suppose. And I should have looked this up. They call it Coming Out Day. They have decorations and everything. But, there's so many days nowadays. I should have checked to see if this is actual, April 22nd is National Coming Out Day. I didn't do that. I apologize. I should have. But I'm a fan of Gina Rinaldi. And I really enjoyed this story, and it definitely had a twist that I did not see coming. So more Christmas, more different things. I liked "O Little Town" by Mark Allen Gunnels. He's another author that I really enjoy. It's obviously from the title, another Christmas story, and it's frightening. The things that are going on, the twist at the end. A lot of these, it's short stories. They all are going to have some sort of twist at the end. We don't know what's coming. But I really liked Mark Allen Gunnels. Let's see. The Christmas Cabin was an interesting one. That's Fred Venturini. Okay. So nothing else that I want to really get specific on except my favorite story in the entire collection, which is one of the shortest ones, I believe, is Christmas Every Day by Nicole Wilson. I really can't say too much about it without giving away what it is, but there's just something about this story. I absolutely loved it. It's a very simple story. I'm not saying that in any sort of bad way. It's very straightforward, and man, I loved it. There's just something about it. It absolutely reminded me of Twilight Zone, classic Twilight Zone. Actually, this entire anthology, I think, they could all be Twilight Zone episodes. That's the kinds of stories that they are. But for some reason, Christmas Every Day just really hit me as that type of story, and I absolutely loved it. I'm going to have to see what else I can find from Nicole Wilson, if she has anything, because there's some newcomers in here, apparently, and classics, obviously. Brian Keene, Mark Allen Gunnels, some great authors that have been around for a while, Bev Vincent, but then apparently there's some newcomers as well. All right. Again, I don't want to get into details I'm definitely not going to get into details of every story. Don't want to get into details on really any of them because they're just quick. I mean, there's quite a lot of stories in here, but they're all good, high quality. It's well worth a read. It came out shortly before Christmas, digital first, then shortly after that, paperback. So I waited for the paperback so I could have my hard copy, and it was worth it. I read it right after Christmas because I was in the middle of something else at Christmas, but maybe even after New Year's. I don't know, but I recommend it. I gave it probably. I'm not sure. I either gave it 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 on Goodreads. I don't remember now. Either way, 4.5. We'll just split that. 4.5 stars. Highly recommended. A great, fun, terrifying anthology of holiday-themed horror with some great authors. I say pick it up. It's good stuff. So that I think I covered everything. It's as always, it's a little tough to talk about short stories. Let me know what you think about. Do I need to read the table of contents to you? Do you want to know every author that's in an anthology? Do you need to know titles of stories? Do you want to know, should I read the entire table of contents, title and author? Do you just want a list of authors? Does it not matter? Obviously, as I talk about each story, I'll tell you what it's called and who wrote it. But as I said, I had someone who wanted to know the entire table of contents. I had mentioned that in one of my other videos. So let me know what you think about that. If you do have any other comments, questions, or corrections, put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to follow me on social media, my Twitter is at Ronan5757. And my Instagram is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K, ErikSmith 5757. And that's it. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.